I'm Grishma Jena. I work as a cognitive software engineer at IBM Watson. And the project that we're going to talk about now is a grad school project of mine that me and a group of other students, so shout out to Mansi, João, Professor Ungar, who helped us make this project come true. I've been involved with a bit of mentoring as well in the Bay Area, and there's someone special here today, Trisha. Please stand up. So I was a mentor for AI for All, which is this nonprofit founded by Dr. Fei Li. And as part of this project, I had 3 high school students with me, and they worked on creating a natural language processing app that was used to prioritize 911 EMS calls. And Trisha over here is in 10th grade now? Yeah, she's a junior, and she's already doing pretty fancy stuff, so feel free to talk to her about that later. So yeah, that's about me. Thank you.
Cool. Well, yeah, let's
sure.
have a seat here. So I'd love to know first about the sort of like, what's the motivation behind the Star Trek chatbot and motivation behind the design choices you made in making it, including maybe source of the data set, things like that?
Mm-hmm, sure. So the way this project came about was, it was for one of my final year courses. And the whole course was about, chatbots and automated discourse, deep learning. And we wanted to actually create a bot on Spock, but we did not have enough data because, the dialogs are limited, as you might have guessed. And then we just came up with this idea, what if we give an entire personality to a chatbot, a personality that's based on Star Trek? So just imagine, a close friend of yours who is absolutely into Star Trek, who loves Star Trek. I'm sure some of you might have friends who are into Harry Potter and whatnot, but imagine Star Trek for now. And this person breathes and lives Star Trek and starts using popular dialogues from the series or throws in references. And just that's the kind of personality we wanted to give to a chatbot and see how well does it go, because chatbots, they chat a lot, but how well can they pretend to be a human who's obsessed with Star Trek? So that was pretty much the motivation for it.
Awesome, I love that. And can you walk us through a little bit more about the way that you built it in terms of the tech stack that was involved?
Sure. So this project was built as an Amazon Alexa skill because the project was about, the course was about Alexa skills. And what we're doing here is we're using PyTorch to create seek-to-seek models. The pipeline for our project goes something like this. You say something to the bot, and based on what you say, there's a classifier involved which either predicts that what you said is relevant to Star Trek, or it's not relevant. It's something very generic, like, let's say, for example, what's the weather today? Based on that routing, there are 2 seek-to-seek models, one for the Star Trek one and one for the generic one. So the Star Trek one, as the name implies, is trained on the Star Trek dialog corpus, a lot of fan fiction, whatever text related to Star Trek we could get our hands on. The other generic one is actually from Open Subtitles, which is a collection of subtitles from popular movies. And that is usually used as a benchmark for general purpose conversational bots. So the Star Trek one works perfect, it's great. We are happy with the results because, hey, we did train it on Star Trek corpus. But what happens is the generic one is pretty general. And we came up with this idea of style shifting, which is take the general response and shift it into the Star Trek domain. So we used bigrams, we used language models, we used some graph algorithms to give that Star Trek touch to the general conversation, the general response.
Is that sort of like style transfer, from generic into Star Trek speak?
Yeah, so that was an inspiration for us, but I think the neural transfer that's very popular has been used for paintings. We tried to get it working with our text. It did not give us good results, so we came up with a bunch of our own things.
Really, really cool. Yeah. So, okay, we're talking really cool sequence-to-sequence models, PyTorch, all of this open text data. Where did you get the computers to do this? Were you using the cloud? Were you doing this locally on your laptops? Like, what kind of infrastructure was required to make this whole project happen?
Right. If we would have done it locally, we wouldn't have been able to finish it in time for our course. This, by the way, was a project done in 2.5 months, and this was our final semester, so we were just in a rush to finish school and get out in the real world. Thankfully, we had our clusters available at school, so we just went ahead and used that.
Cool, that's awesome. So tell me a little bit more about the personality of the Star Trek chatbot. Is it sort of generic across the Star Trek universe? Is it heavily weighted to one particular universe within that, like Next Generation or something like that, or even a particular character? Yeah.
It's really just all over because we needed a lot of data, and we decided to not stick to any one particular Star Trek franchise and just go for it.
So since this is an Alexa skill, is it possible for me to order an Earl Grey hot?
No, unfortunately not.
Dang. That's really awesome. How is this Alexa skill released to the public? Can anyone use this and build upon it? Is it open source? Can people put this into their own applications?
So we really tried to publish this skill, but there were some challenges regarding. So I think at least when we tried it last year, there was a limit on how much the size of the models that you can upload to AWS Lambda, which is 500 MB, which, as you might guess, is not enough for deep learning models. So we failed over there, and we could have hosted it on a server of our own, but there were a lot of additional security requirements, certificates, which we didn't really want to get involved with it then. But the project is on GitHub. It's open source. People are free to try it out for themselves, build up on it, come up with cool stuff, maybe replace Star Trek with something else, probably Game of Thrones and whatnot.
That's really awesome. Thanks. How did you acquire this data? So obviously you mentioned an open source data set that has to do with movie subtitles. So I'd love to know about that, and then maybe how big it is, and then how did you acquire to the Star Trek dialogs? Was that sort of open sourced in a way, or was that acquired through movie publishers, et cetera?
Okay, so Open Subtitles is actually one of the well-known subsets of data out there, so we just picked it up and ran with it. For Star Trek, you'd be surprised to know that Reddit was actually one of our sources for fan fiction. So there's this huge subreddit on Star Trek. So we picked up a few from there. There were these some dialogue, copies available that we just parsed it. And I think there are these, these fanfic, fan-run websites for Star Treks, which, they upload probably transcription of the series and things like that. So it was more of pretty much whatever we could get our hands on.
So in other words, you found whatever you could and you beamed it up.
Yes.
Nice. Awesome. Well, with some of the time that we have left, I know that you've set up a demo here.
Yeah.
Would you like to go ahead and get started and show us the Star Trek chatbot? I think that would be really exciting.
Yeah, sure. So just hoping the demo works, because live demos have a way of embarrassing you on stage, but okay. Alexa, open Enterprise Chatbot.
Welcome to the chatbot.
Space, the final frontier.
Hi.
I'm going to speak some Klingon JE.
Enable shields.
What are you doing, Doctor?
Warp factor 1.
Mr. Spock.
Status, Uhura. Status, Uhura. Engage. I think it timed out. Let me try it once more. Alexa, open Enterprise Chatbot. Okay, we lost signal.
Sorry, this device lost its connection.
Shields down.
Sorry, I'm having trouble understanding right now. Please try a little later.
Okay, we are out of time anyway, right? But hopefully you got a glimpse of what the chatbot is supposed to be like. My booth is right outside those doors, so feel free to stop by my desk and feel free to interact and ask me more about this.
Thanks so much again.
Thank you.
Let's give Grishma a hand.